What's going on, guys? Seth here for TLG, doing a TLG reacts to Silent Hill leaks that came out late last week, I believe. I'm sure you've heard about them. We're going to go through this and talk about all the details. I have pictures, I have information, I have stuff directly from the leaker themselves, and we're going to talk about the validity of these leaks. Are they real? Are they not? What do we think? And is what we're seeing what we want from Silent Hill? And what do we want from Silent Hill? A long defunct name that really only brings up nostalgia at this point. It doesn't really mean anything anymore. Real quick before we go into the leaks and the details, if you're new here, I'll let you know. Everyone else already knows if you've been around for a while. I'm a huge Silent Hill fan. I think Silent Hill 1 through 4 are incredible games. Grew up playing them, and I miss that era in gaming, specifically when it comes to horror. Immensely. And yeah, I think they're fantastic games. And I have a long standing and very strong opinion that regardless of if we get Silent Hill or not nowadays, if it's good or not, we're not going to get the Silent Hills we once had, just because those were lightning in a bottle. That was the team at the time, during the era, during what was going on in gaming at the time, and all the creative juices flowing. At this point, you're going to get somebody who's going to try to emulate that, and they're not going to do it as well. Or they're going to make their own thing. It's going to be horrible. Or they're going to do their own thing and own it, but it will never be the Silent Hill that we got. So that is a hard pill to swallow. But I think a lot of people gotta kind of think about that. What do you want from a new Silent Hill? It's just a name at this point. That era is long gone. So that's where my thoughts are when it comes to what I want from the original Silent Hill. Now, we got Hideo Kojima at one point working on a Silent Hills, and a lot of people think that's still happening. I have no reason to believe that myself, but that was something I was really curious about, because Hideo Kojima has made my favorite gaming series of all time, Metal Gear Solid, also Death Stranding, which I love, and he was going to work on one of my other favorite gaming brands, Silent Hill. So that was a really interesting prospect for me. Not that I was expecting it to be like Silent Hill of the past, but I was going to get a horror game from Hideo Kojima, influenced by one of my favorite series, which sounded like a really cool situation. That didn't happen. Everybody knows what happened there. And oddly enough, Konami owns two of my favorite brands. So that's such a weird predicament to be in, for me, and a lot of people. So yeah, that would have been cool. But again, that would have been a situation where Silent Hill would have been just influence. The Silent Hill we would have got from Hideo Kojima would not be like the prior Silent Hills, but it would influence him to try to do a more cerebral horror game that really sits in the moment and is a game that's supposed to scare you over time, as opposed to quick jump scares. And that would have been a really cool fusion of his creative prowess and that realm to be making games in. So we didn't get that. That would have been cool. So at this point, we're kind of sitting around going like, okay, so is Konami going to cash in and, make some money off of Silent Hill? And if they do that, are they going to do it cheap and not well and just kind of rip a bunch of people off? Or are they actually going to try and get somebody to work on and make a legitimate game? And what is that game going to be like? I would hope for the latter. I would hope for somebody to be passionate enough to go, all right, Konami's funding our game. They have interest in this. We're going to try and make them an awesome Silent Hill game that really makes the fans happy. And that'd be great. I would be open to that. Because of course I want a good game in general, but good Silent Hill game for sure. And I think it's a good time where we don't have a whole lot of horror games like that anymore. And Resident Evil's been doing fantastic with what they've been doing. So I do think it'd be a great time if somebody was serious about it to bring back Silent Hill. It's just, there's a lot of factors. Konami, who's making it, what they're thinking. Are we going to get like some horrible Silent Hill games that they're trying, but they're not Silent Hill, like we've gotten in the past after 4? Or are we going to get something new and original and owning that it's not Silent Hill, but this is what Silent Hill is now? I don't know. That's what I would hope for, but there's no way to tell. And if I'm being honest with myself, I would go into the idea of a new Silent Hill with low expectations. It's been so long now that I can't even humor getting to a place where I could be burned again. So yeah, low expectations. And if a Silent Hill game came out and it was good, I would be very happy. But if a Silent Hill game comes out and it's not good, where I could see a lot of people complaining, being really upset with that, I would just move on with my life and be like, Silent Hill is Silent Hill 1 through 4, and everything that's come after that is not Silent Hill. Those are just cash-ins, and we had fun back then, but we've moved beyond it, and that was just a time and an era, like I said before. So not a whole lot of pressure, but I would like a good Silent Hill. And if you could get Hideo Kojima to work on Silent Hill again, you can mend those problems between him and Konami, I'd be very happy with that as well. But I'll be happy with whatever Hideo Kojima makes. So yeah, I'm good. So anyway, that's kind of my thoughts going into Silent Hill as a property. We're going to jump into the leaks now and discuss the details. All right, so these leaks, as always, take them with a grain of salt. This could be completely fake, or this could be a dead game, or whatever. It could be completely real, but do not take this as fact. This is not confirmed, but this is confirmed according to someone named Aesthetic Gamer, aka Dusk Golem, which is at Aesthetic Gamer1 on Twitter. This is where the leaks come from, and I have a couple tweets from them I want to read first before we look through the pictures, just so you get an idea of what's going on here info-wise. The first tweet says, this is from Aesthetic Gamer, aka Dusk Golem, saying, okay, you know what, I will answer this. The Silent Hill project I posted screens from 2020 on was originally supposed to come out October 2021. But obviously this was in 2020 and the C word struck. I have confirmation now, and the thing I posted pics from was active half a year ago. He continues saying, which means it's almost definitely still in development and unlikely was canned in the last 6 months. While I don't specifically know when it's going to hit, I know Silent Hill date rumors are cursed because of me. I do personally believe we'll see it sometime soon. Honest to God, last thing I'll say, but I know some might get all fearful of this stuff being years away still. I don't personally think it is at all, and know my logic behind it for you to determine if you agree with me or not. All right, so pretty much what we get out of that is that these pictures we're going to look through are from 2020, and this game was supposed to come out in October of 2021, so not that long ago. And apparently they were working on it 6 months ago, so it would be kind of crazy if within the last 6 months somebody had canceled the game. Now here's an interesting part. A while back we heard a rumor that there's actually 3 different Silent Hill projects being worked on, and this guy is able to, I guess, add some support to that when he tweets, just to say the 3 Silent Hill games is true. Technically it's 4, but really it's 3. I know people don't like rumor hopping after the fact, but if people want more validation, I'll say that is 100% what I've both heard and seen. There's a lot more going on with, he continues, the Silent Hill IP than people think right now, and a lot of these projects are further along than people might expect. Apparently back in 2018, Konami's idea to make 2 Silent Hill games I reported ended up evolving into 3.5 projects, and a bit of an imitative to revive the franchise. And then the last tweet I'll read says, however, I'm not going to comment too much more on the whole 3.5 Silent Hill game situation beyond what I have. There's parts of which I think are best not spoiled to people right now. I guess knowing there's a lineup of Silent Hill games further along in dev right now is on its way to be more publicly known, which I know going from people thinking the franchise is dead to learning it now is active, but maybe in overdrive behind the scenes right now, is a bit surprising. But when I got privy to all this, I realized 3 things. Number one, some of it is really cool and should just be experienced without spoilers. It'll take away from it. I don't think it should be leaked. 2, some of it is on the surface will excite the internet. Some of it will fill people's hearts with dread, but all of that is on the surface. I feel like that's a remake he's talking about. And then Let's see. Where's 3? I highly suggest not taking this on the surface. I actually think it's worthwhile to wait for proper reveals and showings. Let the devs do their thing. Then surface level opinions. And then 3, what I chose to share spoils very little, and I think it will be fun in retrospective when continuing. I become privy as a huge fan of the series. I realized that leaking a lot of it would honestly just damage the fun of it. There's some wrong and right information out there. What I highly suggest right now is be patient and letting this play out rather than spoil yourselves. So all of that in a nutshell, he's saying that there is either 4 projects or 3.5 projects, and some of them are really cool and some of them might be cool but might also freak people out. Meaning to me that there are some original projects, maybe some shitty projects on the side, maybe some, pachinko machines or something stupid that Konami would do. But then also some of that kind of sounded like a remake to me. Not even a remaster, but like a remake, because nowadays it'd be so hard to just remaster them like that. That maybe, people would be filled with dread that they'd even fuck with those games. And some people might be excited because we get a new version of a game we really like. So this is all really interesting to me. It does sound, if it is legitimate, like behind the scenes Konami is in overdrive trying to make a bunch of different Silent Hill projects. Hopefully one will stick. I could see them doing that for sure. I can also see them doing that because when the rumors came out that Blue Box was making a behind the scenes Silent Hill game with Kojima, around that exact same time, Konami started selling all this Silent Hill merch again, just at the exact same time, like skateboards and all sorts of weird shit. And I was like, that's kind of weird. They could just be, making money off of all the hype that's happening right now, reverse hype now with Blue Box. But it also made me think, like, it would have took time to design all that and get that ready to go. And are they like priming people for, hey, remember Silent Hill exists? If Silent Hill happens to come out within the next year or two, you're ready. You're ready to play those games, ready to buy that merch. It was almost like it was slowly reinserting itself into the gaming zeitgeist, which I thought was really kind of interesting. So I do kind of believe that they got multiple projects going on because we keep hearing little things here and there about Silent Hill. And with all those little things we're hearing and now this big leak, it just seems like there's definitely enough projects happening that you couldn't keep somebody quiet at all of them, and things are leaking over time. And now we got the big leak, so it kind of seems valid to me. This sounds pretty legit to me at this point, especially with all the details, especially with some of the details I read. One of the things I couldn't find, I don't know if I got taken down or not, I was like on 4chan, was all these details about the game and characters and stuff like that. And those came out at a different time, but they coincide with a lot of the info we're getting from other people. So I think a lot of this is legit. Now, if the project is still in development or if it's an old project that got scrapped is a different story. But I think a lot of this information is coming from somewhere. All right, we got images to look at, concept art of at least one of the 3.5 projects. So we're going to look through them, talk about them, and see if they meet the expectation of what Silent Hill should look like. The first one we got, and is the main one I keep seeing everywhere, is a girl's face. She's just looking right into the camera. It does look kind of drawn, but it also does look like in-game graphics. You can see a lot of like aliasing happening on some of the parts of it, unless those are just pixels, I'm not sure, but it does look almost 3D rendered. But there's a lot of visual graphics on her face that I'm not the biggest fan of. I think they do look kind of stupid, but without theming, without knowing the context, it's hard to judge. But it looks like she has scraps of paper all over her face. Some of them are more prominent, actually coming out of her skin, and the other ones are kind of just a part of the skin merged together a bit. But they all say certain things like Minger. I don't know if you can say that. I hate myself, which kind of reminds me of like Damaged from fucking, Joker, having damaged on his forehead, which I fucking hated, and so I'm not a big fan of this. But yeah, I think it's just, it's Silent Hill. It's all about cerebral stuff, internal problems and things of the past you've done. And so it's a bit on the nose. It's a little too much, I think. But I do think this is just behind the scenes concept art of character design and theming of what they're going with. So I'm not going to judge it too much. But if this is like a main thing in the game, or if this were like the case of the game, I would fucking hate it, because I think it's, as concept, it makes sense when you're discussing ideas that need to become visual. But in terms of like a visual aesthetic on selling a new Silent Hill, this ain't it. So I'm not a big fan of what they're doing with that, and the on the nose stuff, like, oh, I hate myself, fucking all this self-deprecating shit. It's a little too much. But it is interesting to see a female character. I don't know if this is the main character, but I'm going to assume that. And so that would be the second time now that there would be a female character in a Silent Hill as a main character. And that is interesting. So moving on to the next picture, we have a hallway with more of the same paper that the girl had on her face, on her skin, but it is across the walls, going up around onto the ceiling and back onto the wall on the other side of the hallway. And then, yeah, it's a long hallway with a bunch of writing on the walls on both sides. It seems like blood stains on the ground, graffiti, and again, a lot of paper all over the walls. I don't know if this is maybe all notes like it's on her face. Maybe this is something that's going on in her head mentally. I don't know. But then at the end, it seems like there is some kind of, I'm going to assume, enemy or creepy entity that is... It seems visually like the papers, but doesn't quite look like paper. It just has a very mesh head and hands that all have a pink theming to it, visual theming, close to like almost like a light blood or rust color as well. So that it does have a cool tone to it, color wise. But to see this in gameplay would be more interesting. But the concept's interesting. It doesn't look like Silent Hill to me, but it does look interesting. I'd be curious to see what the point of this visual style is. Obviously, it would have some kind of connection if it's a Silent Hill game, but no way to know. But yeah, very, very interesting looking. Next picture it's drawn, but it looks like it's a concept of what an in-game visual would look like. It looks like first person, looks like somebody's holding a flashlight, because the light is more bright in the center, and from the back to the POV and then around it's a little darker. So it does seem like somebody's looking in a room with a flashlight. The room is all fucked up. The ceiling's ripped up. The walls fucked up. The wallpaper's peeling off the walls. There's trash bags everywhere. There's a table and a couch that have trash all over them. Kid's toy on there. There's a cradle in the background. And then the back room has a bunch of trash as well. And the window's all fucked up and bright outside. I don't know if that's fog or if it's so bright out you can't see. But that's the concept art. This one doesn't do much for me at all. It looks fairly generic. It's just like, hey, what would a crackhead's house look like? This. So, somebody drew it and they did a good job. But in terms of like Silent Hill, like I don't know. It's just a room with trash in it. We got another picture. It's also another room with trash in it. And this one we got a bed with a bunch of garbage on it. Pillows, blankets, all dirty, filthy. There's a couple books that are open on there. There's a shelf in the background. There's trash piled up to the window in the back of the room. Again, very bright outside or foggy. Don't know. The wall, it looks like all the wallpaper is like ripped off, or maybe those are sheets of something or curtains. I don't know. It looks interesting. It looks like the wallpaper, but can't tell. And then in the bottom left corner, a bunch of trash again piled up. So very messy house. Yeah, some of the stuff I had read about the details was talking about how in the past of the main character, some kind of domestic problems happened and cops were called and people were taken away or something like that. So this could be the house the girl grew up in. I don't know. Or at least a Silent Hill representation of the house. Knowing, if you're going to deal with Silent Hill stuff, how that could go. But yeah, another dirty room. Doesn't really give us much outside of somebody drew a dirty room. We got another picture. This looks like a concept drawn picture of what in-game would be like. It's very, Japanese survival horror looking, where you walk up, click an item, you hear a sound, and the paper or the gun or whatever floats up off the screen. It gives you a description. In this picture, it's all in Japanese. But there is a circle at the bottom right corner indicating circle on a PS4, PS5 controller. And the room, again, is very dirty. So this is concept art of exploring the dirty house, seemingly in first person. All these look like first person. So I'm wondering if they're making a first person Silent Hill game similar to what they did with Resident Evil, which would be kind of crazy. But yeah, not a whole lot to go from here as well. A lot of empty cans, a lot of empty tuna cans. Or anchovies or some shit. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But yeah, a very messy house, very gross, messy house. And I have somebody who translated all these words in Japanese. So we're going to read that real quick. This is from somebody called Nicholas Tornado via Reddit. They said the text says, according to Google Translate, July 24th, 2020, Mr. Krista Newman, authorities have requested repeated interviews but did not respond at all. We consider this to be unwilling to resolve the issue and will protect your 2 children at the behest of a federal court officer in violation of Article 1631(2) of the Civil Code. If you have an objection, please apply the authorities and promptly respond to the interview. If you do not comply, it will be considered an abandonment of child care, and temporary protection measures will be taken in accordance with the regulations of the authorities. In that case, no objection will be accepted. So this kind of goes into some of the rumors I had heard about people being taken away and child custody issues that I had read on 4chan. So it's very interesting. That kind of corroborates that a little bit. We got one more picture. It is a more extreme version of the hallway picture. It is a long hallway, but all the walls, ceiling, and floor are completely covered in all these notes, all these papers, and they're all glowing a pinkish red, almost salmon color. At the very end, there is that weird entity, again, it's the exact same one, with the almost like mesh, maybe papers, head and hands. But in this one, we can actually see some of what it's saying on the papers. One of them says pervert. One of them says fat bitch. This one says idiot, but I can't read the rest of it. And then another one says you will never, but I can't read the rest of that as well. So again, it's a lot of self-deprecating, self-loathing talking points, maybe things whose ever thoughts these are has heard from other people, or at least they feel other people have said to them. So a bit on the nose, like I said before, but we are seeing a theming here. We're seeing this notes written on paper theming that's across the game. So it seems to have a pretty strong theme. As for the game being, Silent Hill or scary or whatever, we can't really tell visually because it's just concept art pictures. So no gameplay. So it's hard to tell how this would all work with gameplay. And then the last picture we have apparently only came out not that long ago. It's I assume the main character. Again, this does look like a 3D render. And it is her looking forward in a ominous way. She's wearing glasses, but the glasses don't seem to have lenses in them, because on her left part of her glasses, her hair is coming from behind the glasses and going through where the lens should be out the front of the glasses, which is interesting. Maybe she's just trying to look cool. I've known people who wear glasses because they don't need them. They're just like, oh, I look good with them. And then here I am with actual glasses because baby blind. So yeah, maybe she's one of them people, or maybe they were taken from her by the demons of Silent Hill. That'd be stupid. But yeah, it's just more confirmation that this would be the design of this character in this game if it existed. I don't really have a whole lot to say on it. So Yeah, overall, I think a lot of this seems really valid. I 100% believe that this is all real. Whether I think this game is actually being made now or will come out, I don't know. But I do think at the very least, this was an idea for a Silent Hill game, 100%. If it's canceled, that makes sense. If it's not and they're working on it, that also makes sense. But it's too much info and it's too much concept art that works together to not be real. And if somebody made this to make a like mock-up to pretend, I don't buy it. As for the aesthetic, the visual style, I like and don't like it. A lot of the dirty rooms I think is just like back references to the shitty childhood or whatever. So I think they're pretty throwaway. Like they don't really matter too much without the story context. The things I'm mostly interested in is the notes, the visual style of the notes being all over the walls, which is not really super awesome to me, but also it's interesting because it's got that like theming. A lot of times in Silent Hill, they design the monsters and everything around the initial theming of the character and story. And so they're doing that here. I just don't know if they're nailing the Silent Hill look, but without gameplay, it's hard to tell. But I think it's got an interesting look to it. It's got an aesthetic. I just don't want the whole game to just be a gimmick where like, you walk into an old dilapidated house and then all of a sudden fucking papers just come just flying in all over the walls, and all of a sudden like you're like, oh shit, I'm in the demon realm now. And that always just happens every single time. Otherwise it's just like a generic third person horror game. I would play it, but it just seems like the later Silent Hill games started like almost like making like a visual gimmick of how things worked, whereas like the original ones had a real mystery and intrigue. And I would hate to see this game follow that, where it's like they're expected to have one thing that the game's supposed to look like. So not saying it's going to be like that, but I do worry that we're going to see this a lot, and I don't want to. Certain areas would be cool to see that, but the whole game being like that would be really annoying. It's like after the Silent Hill movie came out, one of the Silent Hill games started doing like the walls peeling away with rust and shit. It was cool looking in the movie, it's cool looking in the game, but like that was the movie doing that shit. You didn't need to do that also. So it was like a movie inspired by the video game inspired the next video game. Not a good route to go. You need to keep the original thoughts. You gotta keep your own ideas. And with that, I think the papers is their idea, but I am just slightly worried it could be a gimmick, but no way to know. But it does have an interesting look to it. It is intriguing. If this was not Silent Hill, if this was just a horror game coming out, I'd be interested. I'd be curious about it. So my standard though is just a little high with Silent Hill. I expect a lot from it. If it doesn't meet that expectation, I just go, well, it's a throwaway Silent Hill game. It's not one of the original four. So, to each their own on how they feel about that. But I really hold the first four Silent Hill games in really high regard, and I think they're phenomenal, even with the bad voice acting. They're really good, and every other horror game is just not Silent Hill. Though shout out to Resident Evil, Biohazard, and Village. I really enjoy those a lot. Village was a blast to play. But yeah, I'm curious. I'm interested. I think this is real. We'll see to what extent this is real, but I do think this is 100% real. And time will tell if we get to see more from this, if there's actual gameplay. I think that's where my harder judgments will come. But as of the concepts we looked at, I think they're interesting. I don't know if I love them. I don't know if I hate them, but I am intrigued. So, yeah, let me know in the comments, though. What do you guys think about the Silent Hill leaks? Do you think they're real? Do you not think they're real? Do you have more information you'd like to share in the comments? What do you think about the concept art? What do you think about the main character? Do you think this is all legitimate? Do you think it's fake? What do you think about the papers? What do you think about the self-loathing nature of it? What do you think about the monster we're seeing here? I'm assuming it's a monster, or maybe it's like a version of herself. Possibly. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the route they're going. And let me know your thoughts in general when it comes to the Silent Hill leaks in the comments below. And yeah, that's going to do it for this TLG Reacts. I've been Seth, and stay tuned. We got more episodes coming out soon. We got episodes coming out over on Tasty Flicks as well. We're going to be reviewing Season 1 of Demon Slayer. We finished it, and we have much to talk about that first season. I also need to know what you guys think, if I should continue Demon Slayer Season 2 or start another anime and review that. Let me know here or on Tasty Flicks. Definitely go to Tasty Flicks and subscribe. We got more reviews coming out over there. But yeah, I'm out of here, and I'll see you guys later.